let's do roll call.
Audrey Lynn Hurston James.
Hi, Megan Levine.
Hi, Ann Markoulis.
Angela Ramo.
Maria Venuto.
Leah Leone.
Maureen Jimenez. Isabel Basil.
Can I get a motion on the minutes? Ann and Megan. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes? Oh, wait, you're right, Lynn was not here, sorry. What?
Is this just for the last meeting, or does this include executive sessions since?
I believe it's
No.
the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So that's six, one abstain, yep. All right, and then we have committee reports this evening, so we're gonna start off, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay then, let's do budget hearing.
So at this point in time, this is our annual budget hearing, and to present the proposed budget is our new Assistant Superintendent for Business, Teresa Kagan. Kahan. Oh my gosh, sorry.
That's okay.
Kahan.
That was a lot closer than some other people get sometimes. It's all right. Thank you, Dr. Rihanna, and good evening. During tonight's budget hearing, we will review the tax levy, the proposed expenditure budget for the 25-26 school year by the three required components, the capital outlay projects that are included in the proposed budget, the reserves that we will be using, and the 25-26 budget notice. Oh, there we go. Okay. The proposed 25-26 budget was adopted by the Board of Education on April 23rd. The tax levy for the 25-26 school year will be $79,642,176, or 2.981%. The tax levy formula calculated a maximum allowable levy limit of just over $80 million. The Board of Education decided to levy less than the allowable limit to take some of the burden off of the community. The proposed 25-26 budget is broken down into three components. The total for the administrative component, which includes expenses such as Board of Education, administration, and central office, is $8,943,242. The capital component, which includes expenses for the operation and maintenance of the district, finance payments, and transfer to capital, is $11,468,946. The total program component, which includes expenses for regular education, special education, technology, athletics, and transportation, is $97,710,996. The total proposed budget for the 25-26 school year is $118,123,184. Included in the capital component is $1 million to complete smaller projects that need to be done around the district. For the 25-26 school year, we are proposing projects, one at the middle school to remove and replace some asbestos-containing material, an upgrade to the stadium lights at the high school to LED, and the addition of air conditioning in the high school auditorium. The district has utilized our reserves in the current year as well as next year's budget to offset some of the expenses. As you can see, there is an increase in the total reserves that will be used. Unemployment and workers' compensation were increased to align with the current expenses, and the Teachers' Retirement System Reserve, or TRS, has been increased to offset some of that expense. The school district budget notice will be mailed to the community this week. This notice summarizes the current year's budget, the proposed budget for the 25-26 school year, and the contingency budget. The budget-to-budget increase from the current year to the proposed budget is 4.15%. The proposed tax levy is $79.6 million, which I mentioned earlier is a 2.981% increase. The proposed budget with that 2.981% increase will require a simple majority vote, which means 50% plus one for voter approval. If the budget does not pass on May 20th, the Board of Education has two options. So the tax levy, when we're using a contingency budget, the tax levy must remain the same as the previous school year. So our tax levy this year would be the tax levy for next year. When the board, if the budget were to go down, the first option is either the board can conduct a revote with the same budget or an adjusted budget. The second would be to go directly to a contingency budget. In the contingency budget, the Board of Ed would need to eliminate the capital outlay projects that I just spoke about, the $1 million, the use of school buildings and grounds by outside organizations, and the purchase of any equipment. They would also need to consider the elimination of clubs, after-school activities, fine arts programs, and either the elimination or reduction in high school electives. And then to summarize the budget vote, just to remind everybody, is May 20th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There are 2 voting locations at Glen Cove High School for districts A, B, and C, and at Connolly School for District D. On the proposition will be just one proposition for the annual budget vote. And then, as always, if anybody has any questions, I'm available. You can email me or call my office. And if anyone has any questions now, I'd be happy to answer them. As well as the people, oh, so sorry. The people at home.
The LED cost for the stadium change out, is there a net gain because you're reducing the energy costs? Do you know if, is there?
So the purpose of the change to the LED lights is so that we can use, we're changing the lights to LED for multiple reasons. One is so that we can use them to their full capacity. Right now, we cannot because of the load on the system. And then once that is done, that will be a cost savings in running those lights because now will be LED.
The other question I have is, when I see these annual budgets, I have no idea how you performed against that budget in the previous year. Line items have a dollar amount. If those dollar amounts are exceeded, where does that money come from? Or if that dollar amount is less than what's budgeted, does that extra go somewhere else?
On the district website, there is a, okay. So his question was what happens when a budget line might go above what we've budgeted for or under, and if it's under, what happens to that funds. So first, I just want everybody to know on the district website, there is the actual budget-to-budget, line-by-line item where you can review and see all of the individual codes and what has been spent. In the instance of if it's underspent, that money will go into our reserves. We are allowed by law to have 4% in reserves that we can use if we need to, or money can go into these reserves that I spoke about earlier, where we have workers' comp, unemployment, the capital reserve. That's where that extra money would end up. That also would be the case if we had budgeted that we were going to receive a certain dollar amount in interest and then receive more money in interest. So that extra money would go into those reserves. If a line item spends more than what we originally budgeted, the only way to do that is because we transferred from another line. So we would have to say, the biggest thing that comes to my mind, because that's something that's going to be coming up, is that we would do a budget transfer because we were going to purchase something to the vendor directly, but now we're getting it through BOCES. So we're transferring it from one budget code to a BOCES code in order to make that purchase.
One last question regarding that. Does the public see how you performed against each line item?
That's what is on the website. So if you go onto our district website, under the
Right.
budget information, there is I believe it's titled Budget to Budget.
No, I'm just curious how it is displayed, in other words.
Right.
Okay.
So that report will show the budget, what we're proposing for next year.
Right.
The next column is going to be this year's budget. Then it's going to be last year's budget, and next to that will what we actually spent last year. I believe we have 2 earlier years on there. And you see it line by line.
Is this done throughout the year or at the end of the year?
It's, our financial system tracks that all year long.
All year long.
And then I'm able to just run a report that shows all of that information.
So if you go to our website, you go to budget information, under Find It Fast.
All right, scroll down, Alexa. Okay, so if you, right up on top of that, the appropriation budget comparison. So this is the details of all of our accounts that we use. Our financial system tracks all of this information. And then we don't show you actual for 24, 25, because obviously we're still in the middle of that year, so any of those numbers would not be accurate yet. But you can see the expenditures for 23, 24, which is what we spent, and then next to that is 23, 24 budget. So we budgeted a certain amount, and then what we spent right next to it. And anytime you see something, like when I spoke before about a budget transfer to move something from one code to a BOCES code, that's something that the Board of Education would approve. You would see that on board agendas.
For anyone who's going through our line-by-line budget, if you have any questions whatsoever, it's very important that you either email us your question or give us a call. We want you to be fully informed. And we know there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of budget codes to be presented there. So please feel free to give us a call. We'll be more than happy to go through any questions that you have, so that when you come to vote, you are a more informed, clearly informed community member with, obviously, the correct information.
Ann?
I just have one question. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I'm just wondering if, God forbid, the budget doesn't get passed, how did we come up with that idea of what the cuts are for a contingency budget? Like, why are we right away going to cut services for kids and not get rid of mid-level administrators and put in lead teachers? It seems like we're going right away to no sports, no clubs, but we're going to keep mid-level administrators instead of having lead teachers, or did I miss something? Thank you. Mike Ranga, 4 Eldridge Place.
So just to answer that question, we are told by New York State where we need to start. So in that budget slide, when I showed that we would have to cut the $1 million capital outlay projects, that's one of the items that New York State has to be the first to go. We are not allowed to do that capital transfer. We cannot purchase any equipment. We cannot allow any outside organizations to use our facilities. That's why those items are listed. After that, then the decision becomes down to the board to decide what else we need to cut in order to get down to that same tax levy that we have this year. All of the items listed are all the items suggested by New York State where to start for that.
Does that answer your question?
A little bit. I'm a teacher and I'm also a union president in another district.
Okay.
I haven't heard that in my 23 years that's the first thing we have to cut. I'm hoping we would look at other avenues instead of what's hurting kids and hurting teachers. So I am concerned if, God forbid, there was a contingency budget, the first thing we're looking to do is hurt services for kids.
No,
Looking at other areas.
so if I can explain, I don't want any misinformation here. We get highly recommended suggestions and mandated areas in which we have to cut first. So the capital outlay, that $1 million that we set aside for certain priority renovations in the district would be the first. And the other is we could not purchase equipment. Then it's a matter of looking at all other areas of the budget and then determine in what areas would be, and I think this board, if I can speak for them, would be, how could we hurt programs the least? How can we hurt students and teachers and our programs as they stand? So those would be conversations depending on how big a gap we would have to close. We're also a month and 37 days past our state budget, and so we have no idea what our final numbers are going to be, and that too sometimes presents a budget gap, not for just this district, but for districts all of New York State. And so they begin to look at class size and programs and so on after, reorganization is another, or some districts have, we reorganized last year with one less administrator in the district. So those are the types of conversations that would come if we had to go to a contingency budget. Let's hope we don't. As do I. I hope we don't.
Teresa, thank you very much for the presentation. I just want to ask you, just in case for those who don't know, EBALR. Can you explain that?
EBALR. So that is the reserve that the district is allowed to have to cover any payments for retirees, any payouts at retirement.
Okay. And that's the name of it? It's not small for something?
EBALR is employee benefits. Oh, gosh.
Sorry. If you don't worry about it. It's fine.
Employee benefits account.
I'm going to remember
It's
and I'm going to tell you.
No
As soon
worries.
as I sit down, it'll pop
It's
back in
okay.
my head.
No, it's okay. I should have asked before, but just in case if anybody just didn't know, they know what it's for.
Yes.
It's Employee Benefit Accrued Liability Reserve,
Thank you.
which I'll never remember unless I read it on Google.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions?
Any questions from the board? Any other community members? And this is not the only time you can ask a question. So if for some reason you get a question after tonight, before the budget vote, please, 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 our email addresses, our telephone contacts are on our website as well as on the presentation. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, so now we will have our committee reports. We're going to start with Audit Committee.
We met with the Office of the State Controller yesterday, who will be starting an audit on our policies and procedures related to internal controls. This will be an ongoing process as they conduct a risk assessment to find their focus of fieldwork for the audit. And our internal auditors are finalizing the detailed testing audit and risk assessment audit. They will meet with the Audit Committee in June to discuss the results.
Okay, thank you. Policy Committee.
The Policy Committee met on Thursday, April 24th. During the meeting, the committee constructed the development first readings of several policies that will be further discussed later this meeting. These include the naming of facilities policy and the field trips and excursions regulation policy. Additionally, the committee reviewed a recommendation that will be presented during the instructional report to propose the suspension of the weighting of Regents examinations as currently outlined in the district's secondary grading policy. The recommendation is to continue with the no-harm approach that has been implemented in previous years. This decision or this recommendation aligns with the New York State Education Department's ongoing progress toward new graduation measures. And just as a reminder, the Glen Cove City School District Policy Committee is going to be meeting with the grading policy advisory team to review the current grading policy in light of anticipated changes to graduation requirements. The Policy Committee is scheduled to meet again Wednesday, May 28th at 4:45 at their house. That meeting is going to be posted on the district website and will include discussions of new policy drafts and required state policy updates for the ex officio student board member, smart enabled devices, and extreme heat in schools.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Education Committee?
The Education Committee met on April 23rd and reviewed the ways in which Ms. Garaldi, coordinator of ENL and World Language Departments, has worked to improve family engagement and communication, expanding access to world language instruction, as well as access to the Seal of Biliteracy. We also reviewed how we support English language learner students and the ways in which we prioritize academic growth through literacy development and the strategic use of data to inform instruction and support English language learner student achievement. We will be meeting again on May 21st, and we will hear from Mr. Alan Hudson III, who will be presenting on credit recovery.
Okay, facilities report?
At Landing, there is a mini split air conditioning unit in process of being installed in the library. We received the certificate of occupancy for the Landing addition, and a walkthrough has been scheduled for the Board of Education and the Landing Safety Committee for next week. Smart boards have been installed in the new rooms, and punch list items continue to be completed. At the high school, work continued over the break to get us set up for those summer projects for the science rooms and the cafeteria. And a staging area will soon be set up for the delivery of the windows for the project over the summer. Fire inspection has been scheduled for Daisy Elevator, and those punch list items continue to be completed. At the middle school, the sheetrock and cement board is in the process of being installed in the 1910 400 wing bathrooms. Our new director of facilities, who was appointed at the last board meeting, was on site on Monday to start becoming acclimated with the district. He spent the day with our interim director, attended a construction meeting, and went to a few of the buildings. And he will be coming back over the next few weeks, a day here or there, to get himself prepared for his start date of May 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Anybody have questions on that? No. Okay, so now is the board president's report, which is me, and I just want to update you, the community, on the superintendent search. Can you please speak up? Yes. We're still in progress on our superintendent search, and so at this point, we plan to announce our decision at the next Board of Ed meeting. And that's it. So now it's up to you, Dr. Rana.
So good evening. First, if I could go back to the facilities update. We are very, very excited about all of the work that's being done this summer. In preparation, much of it has already begun. And so while some of us were enjoying the spring break, I know that there was work every day on the high school roof and in other areas of the high school, preparing for the demolition of the science labs and the creation of new science labs for our students. It's a very exciting time. I know Mr. Hudson is so excited about it. Somebody gave me an idea that we should take people's names off the old cabinets where they actually engrave their names, and we should sell them off just to get more money. No, I'm only kidding.
Is my name on there? Is my name on there?
I know that certain
somewhere, maybe?
people say, as they go through, they say, I graduated this high school and my name's engraved in one of those desks. And I said, I don't want to know if you were suspended for defaming our property or not, but we are very much looking forward to the new science labs. But along those lines, the actual construction will begin in the labs at 3 p.m. on June 13th, right after the very last day of school. That area of the high school will be off limits to all, and the actual construction will begin, the demolition of each of those rooms and some walls in between. Very, very exciting. The other piece of that is that you're actually going to see construction in the bathrooms, in the courtyard, as far as the new windows there, but also the high school cafeteria. Yes. So, yeah, I saw that high five back there. So in order to do that, though, the last 2 weeks of school, Everybody will go to cold lunches. There won't be any hot foods served. It's a small price to pay, but we have a very, very narrow window to complete all of the work that's being done and open safely and completely by the start of the school in September. I know that the board has talked about ribbon cutting, and I know so many people are looking forward to seeing the new work that's being done. So I'm sure that you look at Parents Squared if you're a parent on our social media and our website as a community member to come and see what you have supported as far as the progress in our district. It's a very, very positive and very exciting time. So we will have ribbon cuttings, the official ribbon cutting at Landing. They will have ribbon cuttings at the high school in various areas. The work at Daisy will continue. We don't expect it to be done by the end of the summer, but we also are looking forward to seeing the walls up and much of inside that extension being worked upon. The other very exciting piece is that Thayer House will have a little bit of a facelift, and after I think it's 118 years old, it's ready for a facelift. So that work will be done. So if you're coming to district office over the summer, there will be times when you will be asked to use a different entrance, and signs will direct you accordingly. So I want to thank the community for all the patience, but also the support in getting all of those projects underway. Now, as a superintendent, I'm one of 56 superintendents in Nassau County. And in Nassau County, in order to enhance our communication and have discussions both in small groups and in a large group, we meet at least twice a month. One of those meetings is done in what's called a quadrant. So the 56 superintendents are split up by area of location, and we have 4 specific quadrants: the northeast, the northwest, the southeast, and the southwest. I am honored to be part of that northeast quadrant, and each year the superintendents feel it's appropriate and our responsibility to give by quadrant, 1 per quadrant, a scholarship to one of our students. So when the assignment is created, I speak with the high school principal, who speaks with the guidance counselors, and they open up this contest, this essay contest, to students in the school. Each year, I receive probably 2 or 3 essays. They're usually without, well, they definitely have to be without any names on them, and then one of those goes to the quadrant as our entry for the scholarship. Now, because we're all in the same quadrant, we might show a little prejudice to our own district, so another quadrant will be assigned to read our essays. Well, I am very, very proud this year to say one of our students was chosen from the entries in the northeast quadrant, and that young man is Ethan, now I'm going to try to do the last name appropriately, Ethan Arriagada. Is that right? There you go. Ethan, will you please come up, and congratulations. So that everybody can hear us. Oh, am I gonna? Ethan has won $1,000 towards whatever you have chosen to do in the future. We wish you all the very best. This is from our 56 superintendents who really feel you've done an outstanding job in your essay, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, so, yeah.
Thank you.
know you from so many different things that you're involved in, and he's smiling again. And so I know you're a busy young man. But your name has come across my desk a couple of times already, correct?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. And in a positive way, which is always good. So I think you're being recognized this month at a dinner also. Could you
Yep.
explain what that's about?
So I invited to a dinner, a dinner and I think breakfast. One is
Yeah,
for
you-
BOCES.
You've got two events
Yeah,
on the
on-
same day.
on Friday,
You're
yeah.
gonna eat all day.
Exactly. So one is for BOCES. More than anything is because they saw that I was fully committed with the work that I was doing there.
Yes, he was. It is the recognition of his commitment and hard work in his BOCES program. So I think that should be recognized as well.
Thank you.
And because we want to make sure he is recognized and fed twice in one day, it just so happens you will be honored again later that day, correct?
Exactly. I will be one, I think, I don't remember exactly the name, but we saw it was for a teacher, be bilingual. So as I want to be a teacher in the future for math, and exactly for bilingual and Spanish students, I just wanted to apply and it's my passion, so I just want to do my best with that.
I can't wait to see this young man fulfill his dream and impact other students. So, as a math teacher,
Yeah,
a bilingual math teacher, and
Exactly.
your commitment to education, thank you for all you've done and in representing Glen Cove and for all you'll do in the future.
thank you.
This is for you. And here's your check, okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Come on over.
Okay.
Ethan, did you not volunteer at Northwell also last summer? Yeah, I did. Yeah, in your spare time. Good job. Okay. All right, so now that we're recognizing people, being on the school board is not an easy task. It takes a lot of time. It is an education unto itself. And the devotion that I give all of these board members and those in the past and those in the future, truly, it's just so inspiring. But what many people don't know is that they are obligated to take certain coursework, but then they are given the opportunity to take additional coursework so that they have a deeper knowledge of making the decisions for a school district cooperatively. And so at this point in time, I would like to present the following awards. A Board Achievement Award to Aaron Markoulis for conferring more than 75 points for your ongoing professional development. Wait a second, now you have to stand in the front, please. Okay, you know how they are with the awards. Megan Levine for conferring 150 points. And at this point in time, Angela Ramo, 250 points. She has gone to so many, they've given her a complimentary training certificate, so she... Okay, sit in the middle, okay.
Wait, no.
Yes. assure that you're going to continue your education. And so here is a portfolio for you to take all the notes and keep all your certificates together. But again, on behalf of the New York State School Boards Association, we thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is time from their families to take this work as seriously as they do. And the others have also either reached a certain point or on their way to the next level. So by no means do I want to minimize the time, the effort, and the education that they are constantly wanting to understand procedures and and we're still going to ask questions because that's the way we do it. But I thank you for your dedication to the Glen Cove schools. Thank you. Okay. And because I haven't finished yet, we had an exciting month last month. It was the first time that we opened up travel to our students in foreign countries other than perhaps through the Select Chorale or something to that, or that. Actually, we do have the fashion work as well. But the principals decided that they would like to help their students experience cultures in other areas of the world, and again, enhance their own global awareness. And so I want to bring up our two principals first, Mr. Arcolano and Mr. Hudson, if you could. Okay, no, they're going to come up in a minute. Just wait. All right. Now, these two principals took on this responsibility. I have to say that it was not a small responsibility to take students into another country. But they took it on and embraced it and thought it was a great idea, and inspired the students, motivated them, and we began this pilot. And I call it a pilot because it was never quite done this way. So they not only kept us all informed. If anyone here was a parent or a community member that had someone they knew on the trip, they probably were part of what's called a photo circle. That kept us informed of all the different areas and projects they did, some of which I couldn't believe they were doing, zip line, okay. But they really did plan an amazing tour with EF Tours and handle such a wonderful. So for a second, before they do their presentation, I'd like to thank both principals for their dedication and their participation in this project.
Thank you.
They did tell me that it wasn't a vacation, but having experienced it. Now, then we decided that I got this text from our principals saying, I think this was something that really needs to be expressed by the students. And so they challenged the students to put together a montage of some sort, a reflection of what they felt this trip meant to them. So, Mr. Arcolano, could you,
Sure.
Explain this a little longer?
Thank you, Dr. Rihanna, members of the Board of Education. Before I turn the microphone and the clicker over to this young man to my right, I just want to say thank you to you all for supporting us on our trip. Experiential learning is something that we all know is a very powerful tool. And this year, this spring, that really came to life for us in Spain. The middle school visited Madrid, Toledo, Cordoba, and Sevilla. Each of these cities offered its own history, its own culture, and flavor. And in Seville, we experienced the Semana Santa, which was an unforgettable moment filled with floats, music, in a centuries-old tradition that moved every student, regardless of their background. Our students, many from different faiths and cultures, were deeply respectful and engaged, and it was a powerful moment of empathy and cultural appreciation. Many of them have studied the language, Spanish, but here they used it. They spoke Spanish in real conversations with shopkeepers, waiters, and tour guides. They got to touch ancient walls, some dating back to the year 711. We walked where kings and caliphs once walked. We stood in the royal palace of Madrid. We explored the Mezquita in Cordoba, and to see their eyes light up when we walked into Piazza de España was amazing. It was an amazing experience. They came back not just with photos, but with broader minds, fuller hearts, and stronger bonds with one another. And there was one night, our last night in Madrid, and my friend here can tell you about it, where we got stuck. We planned to get to our bus. We could see it. It was about 3.5, 4 blocks away. That big purple bus that, was our chariot all around Spain. And they were set up for a procession. And we thought we had timed it perfectly, but our tour guide misjudged. And we couldn't get to the other side of the street. And the streets were jammed. So it was like Times Square, New Year's Eve, where you're in those barricades and there's no way out. So we were stuck having to walk single file with the tour guide leading the way and everybody else behind us. And we had our chaperone, Mr. McKinnon, who was the tallest in the group. So he always had the back, just so he could see if anybody got lost or peeled off. And we were, single file. We got cut off, derailed a couple of times. We had to turn back. I started to panic a little bit, but I tried not to show it. And then all of a sudden, it started to pour. And the Spanish did not move. They were waiting for that procession, and we just needed to get dry and get to our bus. So we just had no choice but to turn back around, and I called Mr. McKinnon. I said, "You're now the lead. Get us back to that block where we had to jump down the curb." So he knew exactly what we meant. And as we're walking, and I wish I could have I took a picture of it, but I didn't. All of our students, they're in single file. There's crowds to the left, to the right, and all of them, they just instinctively put their hands on each other's shoulder and guided each other through this storm, through this crowd. And it got a little hairy, I can't lie. Once we got to the garage, we all laughed a lot, right? And it was an amazing experience. Some of the kids said it was the best day of the trip. If I wouldn't do it again if I had a choice. But it really was amazing. And it's those experiences. It's the photos of the kids who, maybe before the trip, they might have had some issues in years past. And now they were really, truly bonded. And that, to me, is what the trip was all about. 33 actually attended. 35 was scheduled, but 33 in the end attended. And it really was a great experience. It planted seeds of curiosity, of understanding, and of inspiration. And I'll let Chef Pete talk about that. But this was really education at its best. So thank you all for helping us bring the world to our students. And I also want to just say thank you to I'm sorry, Mr. Hudson, I call them the dream team of chaperones, Ms. Chicola, Ms. Senegata, Mr. McKinnon, a.k.a. Mr. J, and Ms. Brices Rodriguez. They were really amazing. I picked each of them for a specific reason, and very quickly into the trip, I knew I made the right decision in selecting them. They were outstanding, and this trip would not have been as successful as it was without them. So they're not here tonight, but they really deserve a huge thanks, and I thank them every day for it. So, and at this time, I'm going to introduce, many of you know him. He is internationally known, Panagiotis Karathanasis, Chef P. We talk about this trip being a thing that could inspire students. He has been inspiring students since, I would say, at least 6th grade, because that's when I really got to know him, although I knew him when he was in like 1st grade, kindergarten, right? Asking me which 6th grade you want to be in Mr. Isley's class with all the snakes. Every time I saw him, that's what he asked me for. But sitting in our incoming 6th grade orientation, when I do my slide on clubs, his hand went up. "Do you have a cooking club?" And I said, "No, we don't, but that is something we can talk about." And we just happened to run into Dr. Rihanna, and I said, "This young man would like to start a cooking club. Can we do it?" And he has since inspired a whole bunch of middle school students to take on cooking. You can check out our Instagram, and you can see the cooking competitions that would not have happened if it weren't for him. So, we talked about this trip and what it might mean for him and his career, because he will be a world-renowned chef one day, I have no doubt. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Panagiotis, Chef P., it's all yours.
So this is my slideshow about Spain. So what I learned about Spain, I learned that they have like different customs, like religious customs. We also visited an olive oil farm, which was pretty cool, pretty popular in Spain. I brought some olives home for my sister. She likes them a lot. And Spain also was ruled by 3 different religions over its history. So, yeah. Back when, from what you said about us touching the walls from year 7-11, you said, I made a connection with walking on the same grounds as Christopher Columbus, how it, feeling more connected to the history and feeling like it's more realistic, being able to see everything. And the picture above the painting of Christopher Columbus is his tomb, which we got to see. I learned a good amount of stuff on this trip. I learned that Europe is my favorite continent, between going to trips from Greece with my family and going to Spain. I also learned that I like exploring, seeing different places like historical castles, buildings. And the picture on the bottom right is me ziplining, which I mentioned to my mom, and she told me not to do, but I did it anyway because
There was nobody on the trip that said, don't listen to your mom, just do it anyway, you'll be fine. No one told you that.
yeah, no one told me that. Yeah. It wasn't scary. It was like exciting, thrilling. On the line, I was like, oh, is it like, how's it? But then I started like being excited with it and whatever. And I was online with Mr. J, talking to him about it. Yeah, so. This trip inspired me by, it's like different cuisines of food, like the Spanish ham jamon iberico. I had it there, it was pretty good. I also tried paella, which I wanted, which was like one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Spain, to try Spanish paella, like true paella. And I was also inspired by seeing all the buildings and whatever that we went to, like the castle in Seville, which is pretty cool, and that one castle with the bell tower where we had to walk up like how many 37 flights of stairs, and we got a good view of the bullfighting ring too. And yeah. I see the world as something that has lots of places to be discovered and pretty things that I can't imagine myself unless I see them in person, which was what I experienced in Spain. And I view foreign countries differently now because of like being able to like see what it is for like the true experience I've had with like the food and the buildings, architecture, and the castles. I feel like I got closer with my friends figuring out like a new culture right? And also knew Mr. Icolano for a while. But then after the trip, I realized he's a pretty chill dude.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Yeah. That's then, yeah. Thank you.
Ready, Sir Renger? So I just want to piggyback off of what Mr. Iacolano said. We had a great time. We really did have a really great time. Isabel was there. But I don't want to take the thunder away from the gentleman here to my right, who I call Sir Michael Renger. All right, he is a phenomenal student. He is involved in pretty much everything that we do here at Glen Cove High School. But I'm going to allow Michael, who actually won the contest, and I want to thank Mr. Iacolano for providing guidance. For me, this was the first time we've ever done this at the high school, and we were insane to take 70 students. We started with 94 on the list, and I'm like, you know what? Let's see how many people would be interested. And by the time the meeting was over, I think we were up to about 57 students, parents who had registered and wanted to partake in this journey. I gave Dr. Rihanna a call and I said, maybe we're insane, but you know what? We'll take it on. We'll take it on. And we had a great time. She gave the okay to have 2 bus loads of students. But at this point, I want to turn it over to Sir Renger, who put together a great presentation. Don't worry about it, Michael. I have your $25 gift card to Starbucks. I did not bribe him. All right. So anything on there is genuine. All right. I will turn it over to Sir Michael Renger.
All right. Thank you. Oh, how do I work this? This right? Okay. So first of all, I have a couple people that I would like to thank profusely. First of all, the Board of Education for approving this damn thing. I know that taking 80 kids across the ocean here is a lot to consider after just a first pitch, and it was. You'll see in the presentation, it was an absolute blast. So thank you for the approval, and thank you, Dr. Rihanna, for everything as well about approving all this and just helping get it all organized. And lastly, thank you so much to Mr. Hudson and Ms. Padilla, who led us all for 8 days in another country through the rain, through shine, through a little bit of a stomach bug across some of the portions of the students. So thank you so much for everything. And here was my experience in Spain. So this is a couple of my friends and I. We were in Barcelona. We took this picture. I bought that flag. That's the flag of the Catalonian independence movement. So Barcelona, I'll explain when we get there in the presentation, but if we could see in the first slide. So first of all, the travel to Spain, it was a lot, taking, again, 70 kids across the ocean. We had a bit of an interesting flight path. We took 2 planes from LaGuardia to Toronto. One group, the first group, I don't know how they did it. They had a 6-hour layover in Toronto. But then my group, we met them at like 3 o'clock, and our flight was at like 6, 7. And then we took the big jet on Air Canada all the way over to Barcelona. So, we got here at the high school pretty early at like 11 o'clock. The other group, like 6 in the morning, had our bags checked and everything. We met our chaperones. I was with Mr. Flores, who held our whole group together the whole time. And I said basically adios to my parents. And here's my friend Liana and I. I think we're in Canada at that point. And then, the plane ride, it's a like 6-7 hour plane ride from Canada all the way over to Spain. So I of course, I brought some plushies along the way. That's Gubby right there, my little travel friend. He's been many places. He was with me last spring break when I went to Scotland with my parents. So new travel buddies. I knew a lot of people already going on the Spain trip, but with how things worked out, I got an opportunity to really interact with people a lot more that I don't really interact with on a daily basis due to scheduling or just whatever. So I hung out a lot with my friends Elizabeth and Max. I marched them on like a death march around Barcelona and Madrid. If you talk to them, they'll tell you. But we had an amazing time together, and it was really nice just to be around some people that I haven't really talked to very much. So that was all well and good. Now, wait. So in Spain, the food was delicious. Now, the Spanish hot chocolate was delicious. It's different than American hot chocolate. It's very like nice and thick, and you dunk the little churros in it. It was like one of our first stops in Barcelona, and we were very weary. We kind of stunk after, not taking a shower for over 24 hours. But we went to this little chocolate cafe place in Barcelona, and I made sure to try a bit of these churros, and it reinvigorated me a little bit. And just Spanish food in general was delicious. So in Europe, this is just a thing in Europe in general, but especially in Spain. Spain is, nowadays as Catholic can be. So you go to a lot of churches in Spain, and each one was just more beautiful than the last. You have the famous Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, the cathedral in Barcelona. You have the cathedral in Madrid. There's a cathedral in the Royal Palace. There's famous churches just all across Spain, including one in Zaragoza, which is famous because, number one, it's a stop on a pilgrimage in Spain, but also because during the Spanish Civil War, bombs fell on the church and none of them exploded, and they call it a miracle today. Wonder if I put that in there. I can't remember. Hold on. All right, now the food. Here we go. So one of the big drives for me in Spain was I needed to try the ham. I heard about it ahead of time. Spanish ham is delicious. And there was one day, and the trip did not prove me wrong in this assumption. I'm still looking for it here in the States today. I got some Serrano ham from the local deli, but even that, it wasn't the same. So I'm still searching. But Spanish ham, one day, our travel day between Barcelona and Madrid, I think I had three ham sandwiches because I love them that much. And then, the markets they have, like, you could just get like little bits of ham just like in like a cone with like little slices of cheese, and that was also really good. But even better than the ham, I thought, was like on our last day in Madrid, our tour guide stopped. We had some time to just walk around at our leisure in Madrid, and our tour guide suggested this place that is well known for its fried calamari sandwiches. Now, of course, I needed to inquire about this further, so Max, Elizabeth, and we immediately got off the bus and ran right over there. And when I say this place was a madhouse, it was, oh my God, it was a madhouse. But we snuck onto the takeout line, and in broken Spanglish, I ordered that sandwich, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever eaten. And it, surprising, you only got squid and bread, but it was really good. So here we are, a couple more photos of me and my friends. Dinner, I was very tired by dinner because in Spain we were up at like 6 in the morning, crack of dawn, down at breakfast at 7, on the road at 8 o'clock to wherever we were going. There's me and a couple of my friends. We were in the Gaudi Park, and that's where I fed a pigeon because, the pigeons in New York, you think the pigeons in the city, they're everywhere, and you think that they're all in your face. In Spain, they come right up to you. They have no care in the world for people, and they'll eat right out of your hand. It's a lot of fun. So the classic beauty of Spain was it was beyond my comprehension, and even the graffiti in Europe was just like so much nicer than the graffiti here. Like, there was all this like nice art, especially in Barcelona with all the medieval alleyways. There was just some new like panel or like wall covered in artwork that was so just amazing to see. Like, look at that little guy. Look how cute he is. Like, what's he doing? And it was really just cool to see. So then beauty can be just found everywhere. This is Toledo. So Toledo was the former capital of Spain, and it's situated on a river. It's a river surrounds it on three sides, and we stopped on our way into the city, this spot, just to take a look at this, just to take a panoramic look, and it was just absolutely breathtaking. It was a nice cool day that day, and it was just beautiful to look at early in the morning. And then Toledo, also being such a medieval city, it was also covered in these old alleyways and things like that. So really it's just amazing in Europe, because in the United States, it's like the oldest thing, if you really want to look, is like, oh, look, it's a 300-year-old building. Awesome. But then when you go to Europe, you're like standing in a palace that's over like 1,000 years old, or you're seeing a wall from Roman times. I remember one time I was walking in Barcelona, and my tour guide pointed out to me, there was a decent amount of like construction on the roads, and she pointed out to me that if you look carefully, like through the fences and the construction, where they're tearing up the street, underneath there's the original cobblestone roads of Barcelona that were left over from, you know, times past, even from like the Roman eras. That's why construction in Europe is just a lot more difficult. So I'm gonna miss Spain. I'm gonna miss it a lot. There's me. We went to Montserrat, which was like a monastery town up on this mountain outside of Barcelona, and there was this funicular that took you all the way up to the top of the mountain, and it was. I looked at it from down below. I was like, it's very steep, but thankfully I don't have as bad of a fear of heights as my dad does, but. Or you. I tried to get him to go on, and he was like, no, I can't. But thankfully, I got it together, and I went all the way up there, and it was truly a great time. And then when I got back to Spain, got back from Spain, my parents made me a sign telling me to go back, so thank you for that. Although I would have gladly. So, in total, it was the best trip ever. You see, I was going to put in here a photo. It was, Mr. Hudson, it was, you know what photo. We were, so on our way back from Madrid back to, we took a plane from Madrid to Montreal, Montreal to LaGuardia, and I gotta say, Mr. Hudson, you were wiped out. We took this tin can of an airplane on the way home, and I don't know how this thing got off the ground. Nonetheless, made it back to LaGuardia in one piece, but I've never seen someone in such a deep sleep as Mr. Hudson on this return flight.
I have to speak to that. I'll speak to that.
But I would 100%, I only got 1 year left in me before I graduate and go on to do hopefully more and bigger and brighter things in my life. But I hope that next year we get to do this all again. It was an unforgettable adventure, and thank you so much for everything.
Okay, so let's give it one more round of applause for Michael Ranga. All right, so I know everyone here is physically here, but I want just everyone out there, just to let them know that I was not sleeping, Michael. I was in a deep nod. All right. For one, when you take on, and I know Ms. Diacolano can say the same thing, when you take on an adventure like this, you don't sleep. There's no way you get a chance to sleep. But it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. I mean, our kids were phenomenal. I'm going to show you a few slides, and like Ms. Diacolano, I want to thank all the chaperones that we had. So when you go to like EF Tour, one of the main things they say is that your chaperones will either make or break your trip. I have to say all the chaperones I had, and actually I invited them, and one of them was able to make it. Ms. Reyes is in the back. If you could stand, Ms. Reyes. All right. I'm just going to brag and maybe embarrass Ms. Reyes a little bit. All right. because I do have to say this, the chaperones were awesome. We had two different groups, as Michael said. So we had times we were broken up in different hotels, different planes. But I will tell you that Maria Reyes was awesome, and I'll tell you why. So Michael kind of alluded to those who we were in communication with. We did have somewhat of a stomach bug that took place, all right? And it was pretty much like an 18-hour to 24-hour bug. But I got to say, our students were awesome. Even in handling that, they were mature. They were very mature in the way they handled it. Miss Reyes, who was there, was one of the first people to go out and get medicine. Just went, what do you need, Mr. Hudson? Do you need Alka-Seltzer? Do you need this? Do you need that? And so I just want to publicly thank you for that, because as a leader there, you're with 70 students. You're in a different country. One of the most important things is to have other people who can quickly think on their feet to be able to support and keep our students safe. So I just want to give you another, if we could give her another round of applause and say thank you very much, Ms. Reyes. All right. So just quickly, so that's me learning Spanish. What you find out is when you go to Spain, right? So you walk up and most of the people, they say, most of the people 35, 40 under speak English. So, you first walk up, but what I loved is that you got used to being immersed in another country. At first, it's awkward to walk up to someone and say, hola, right? But after a while, it just became normal because you're kind of immersed in it, and it was a great experience. So here's a couple of things I always want to say, like our GC nights were wonderful. These are pictures of us enjoying food. I'm a foodie, so all my pictures here are food. But it was just a great experience. If you take a look, you have a number of people here on the left, Michael, Sean. I got a chance to really meet and get to know a lot of our students that sometimes I wouldn't really have come in contact with. So we definitely have a special bond now. Even when I'm in the hallway now, I tell them, I say, I'm going to make fun of you now because I really know you. And I asked a lot of them as we returned if they missed Spain, and all of them said yes. They said, yes, we do miss Spain. So again, we had a great time. This is one of the dinners we had towards the very end. Our students were so awesome that typically at the end, you have an adult give the tip to the tour director. I felt it better for it to come from a student, and really no other than Michael Ranga, right? So Michael delivered a phenomenal speech. He thanked Alina, who was our tour director, who really did a great job. Leanna McFadden, who's not here, she also did a great job of thanking our tour directors. And it was just well received. So think about it this way. You're in a restaurant, and we were split up into two groups, so there were 39 of us in this restaurant. You're sitting there with whoever, and 39 teenagers walk in. I will tell you, we got nothing but accolades from everyone who was there. No one was disrespectful. Our kids were respectful. Our kids did exactly what GC Nights are expected to do. So here's just a number of other things, and I don't throw the word magical around very often. I really don't. If anyone who really knows me, it's not in my vernacular to say it's magical. I will tell you this trip was magical, all right, because what it did was it was great, it was fun, but it also allowed students to really be children. Like, they did things that had nothing to do with being involved with a cell phone. We did biking. Kids are doing cartwheels. Now, they're not getting in trouble. I think that's the La Plaza. They're just excited because they're next to Miss Edgar, who they had never met before. This is a teacher in the building, and those kids just kind of fell in love with Miss Edgar, and as well as Miss Reyes and all the other chaperones. So it was great. Seated there, we have a number of our students who we dined out. They actually sat outside there and ate lunch, had a great time as well. Okay. So, and our chaperones, again, kudos to them. Without them, this wouldn't have been the trip that it was. They did a great job of watching over the students. As the students always know, we kept a careful eye on them when we said pot up. So when we said pot up, that meant that they knew exactly to get to their pod director, their chaperone. And one of the things high school students really enjoyed is really to have some free time, to really kind of walk and explore. And what they did, we gave them more and more free time because they were responsible in getting back in a timely fashion, so that was awesome. So again, these are just some other pictures of, we did a bike tour. Now, I haven't been on a bike in a long time, all right? So, but we had a great time just going through the alleyways, down by the beach on the bike tour, as well as visiting all of the sites here in Spain. And the last slide really is, just kind of speaks to the fact that, you know, I love the fact that both the high school and the middle school was there. I did run into Mr. Iacolano as well while they were eating dinner, Mr. McKinnon, and we had a tremendous, a beautiful time. The last photo is of Ms. Ramos. Now, I'll have to say this about Ms. Ramos. Ms. Ramos got sick on the trip the first day, but I got to say she was unbelievable, because Ms. Ramos and Ms. Padilla both got sick, but they remained behind and took care of about 5 of our students who were sick. So truly made the trip awesome, and they sacrificed to make sure our kids were safe. Just lastly, this is a group picture we took. We went to a show, a flamenco show, but it also is where we all, I think, tried to do flamenco. Some were better than others. But one of the things that was great about this is that everyone, they kind of dropped their, they participated. Everyone, even the guys. So the ladies were, you know, the young ladies were good. They were doing the dances. The guys always want to act cool or reserved, like, I'm too cool to get. But I do have to say this, the guys even started learning flamenco dancing, and it was awesome. So this is a shot of all of us right outside. But I just want to say, I kind of want to reiterate, Dr. Rihanna, the Board of Education, we just want to thank you. Our kids had a phenomenal time. We thank you for that, because not all school districts allow their students and administrators and chaperones to go on such an adventure. So again, just thank you for everything. All right.
Thank you. So while they're coming back to their seats, I do want to let everyone know that, you know, we had meetings before the trip got underway, the do's, the don'ts, the what do we need to do. I want to thank Mr. Iacolano and Mr. Hudson in speaking with the chaperones when they came back. We did have another meeting when they came back. What could we do differently? What could we ask of the tour guides? I did give the board a synopsis of what we discussed, so that they can look into this and determine if, you know, we want to continue this type of adventure and exploration for our students. The one thing that I have to comment is that when I asked each of the principals what they thought of the trip, they didn't say, oh my gosh, the scenery was great, or he said both of them. The kids really came together as a family. They really got to know each other better. Years ago, I went on the Italy trip with the Select Chorale, and I came back, and I had done this with other districts, and I remember saying there was not one problem. Our students, over the years, I can honestly say, no matter what the event and where they've traveled, or just how they've acted at a sporting event or a competition, I have been told by other superintendents how truly amazing, truly mature our students are. And I'm not talking just the high school, but also middle school, who are still going through some other explorations as they get through middle school, being what it is. All the students represented Glen Cove in a way that we can only be proud of them. And I thank you all for taking time from your vacation, your downtime. I know, Alan, those bicycle rides were interesting, but thank you all, the chaperones and the administrators and the students. Thank you for such a wonderful representation of Glen Cove in a foreign country. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback off that. Michael also, Michael is a historian. So Michael spent most of his time shopping, finding coins from the 1800s. Cormax and who else was it? Nash? And Elizabeth. But what they did say to me is that Michael, even while he was there, he was teaching them history. He said he was like a walking encyclopedia.
So that's
So,
great.
yeah, I'm sure. Every time he purchased something, especially, I was a history teacher, he would come to me, Mr. Hudson, take a look. So that's what he was
dreading
doing.
that. I'm dreading that bill. Please,
Um,
thank you very much. That was great.
Isabel, you went also, correct? And so, you know, we're talking about the trip as a whole, but personally, how did you feel?
Oh, I had a lot of fun. A lot of my close friends went, and it was just really fun.
Great, great. All right. So, Board of Ed and Community, that is the superintendent's report for tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Okay, so it's actually Isabel's turn for her report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As we are heading into the final stretch of the school year, there's a lot going on around the schools. First off, the high school spring concert is coming up on May 19th and 20th. It's an awesome event, and our music students have been working hard to put on a great show. Also on May 20th, the high school will be hosting a district-wide research symposium and science fair. Students' projects will be displayed in the back gym for all to see. As we're entering exam seasons, there's a few changes around the building. A lot of our students are taking AP exams this week, so the library is closed through next week to help maintain a quiet space, and we won't be hearing any bells during that time either. Best of luck to everyone taking their exams. Regents are also coming up soon, so keep an eye out for review days and be sure to take advantage of any extra help being offered. Additionally, many of our sports seasons are ending now. Our girls lacrosse team had our senior night last night where we honored our coach, Mr. Chicola, because he's retiring this year. So we had a nice ceremony for them. And the girls softball team is entering playoffs because of all their hard work this year. It's an especially exciting time for all seniors. Prom tickets are on sale now in the gallery, and we're still collecting permission slips for the senior trip to RPM Raceway for one more week. And if you've driven through our downtown lately, you might have seen the banners featuring our senior portraits. And if not, be sure to check them out and celebrate the class of 2025. Inside the building, seniors' college decisions are now being displayed on the way to the main office. So take a moment to see where our classmates are headed next. And just a quick reminder, the last day to pre-order your yearbook is May 9th, so don't miss your chance to hold on to these memories. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have our first public participation on agenda items. If anybody has any questions or comments, please come up to Ida, sign in, and give her your address.
Janet Blatt, McGrady Street, Glen Cove. I'll throw out anything else I was thinking of saying tonight and just say that the presentation from this trip to Spain and from what I've heard besides from the presentation has got to be the very best of anything in not the 15 years. I realized the other day it's 17 years. I've been crazy enough to come to board meetings. The absolute best to Dr. Rihanna for allowing the trip to happen, to the school board for approving the trip, to the two principals, to any of the other adults who were the chaperones, to allow the kids of our middle school and high school to have this experience. It's just the absolute best. I don't think you could put in front of me anything else that I could say was better than this for the number of students that got to have this experience. Thank you all. This was, I've not smiled this much at a board meeting ever. This is just superb. And the last thing I'm going to say is the 8-year-old little third grader that I know, I told him during the spring break that kids from our middle school and high school were on this trip to Spain. And he's become fascinated this year with countries all over the world. And he said, "Am I old enough to go?" I said, "No, you have to wait." He said, "Will they have it when I'm in middle school?" I said, "Hopefully. You need to talk to them and encourage them when you get there to allow it." He's 8 years old. He wants to go. I'm sure there are many other of our students that want to go. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. Hello, Marissa Damiano, 136 Woolsey Avenue. So I'm back here tonight to continue my conversations about my concerns for the need for a stronger, more effective reading instruction across our district, and specifically for students who struggle and our special needs students. Since the last time I spoke, I received an overwhelming response from many parents about the challenges that their children face with foundational literacy skills. So my question to the board and administration is, have we looked into implementing a research-based program to help those students that struggle and special needs students? So that's my first question. My second question is, what screeners or diagnostic assessments do we use to help us identify a student who is struggling? And what grades does this begin? So should I continue, or can we answer now? I don't know how this works.
Do you have other questions?
No, that's it. Those are my two on this area. And then I do have other things that I want to discuss. So keep talking.
Usually we like to take all your questions and then try to answer them, or
Okay.
we'll get back to you.
So I don't have any other questions. I only have two. So maybe I'll start talking about my other thing, and then I'll circle back to this. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay. So a few things that I would like to discuss and bring attention to is to keep in mind as we move forward in appointing new administration. So as a community, we ask for clearer strategies, more support, and better results. And at the same time, our teachers who work directly with students every day need leadership that prioritizes high-quality, research-based instruction. So they need a curriculum that is aligned, and they need administrative support that reflects a deep understanding of literacy education for all students. Our school thrives when leadership reflects the needs and priorities of the people they serve, students, families, and the dedicated teachers who work with them daily. Transparent communication, inclusive input, and a commitment to collaborative leadership will help build the trust and the unity that our district deserves. Therefore, as the board moves forward, we ask that these concerns be at the forefront of your decision-making. We need leaders who will recognize that improving reading outcomes is not just a classroom issue. It's a district-wide responsibility. And this includes selecting administrators who are going to collaborate with educators, engage with families, and commit to a coherent vision for literacy success. Reading is the foundation of all learning, and I hope that the leaders that you choose share this commitment. As a school district, we have an obligation as of September of 2025 to certify with the State Ed Department that our curriculum, instructional strategies, and teacher professional development align with all evidence of research-based instruction. And then I wanted to share on another note that I'm very happy to report that I have worked successfully with Kate Kelly from the Nassau Region PTA. It just so happens that a colleague of mine is her friend. So when I was trying to work in getting SEPTA back into our district, I was speaking with a colleague, and she said, I know the perfect person that can help you. So I'm happy to report that we have a pre-charter meeting scheduled for May 28th at 7 p.m., and I'm eager and excited to bring parents, teachers, administrators, and the community together to help support children with special needs and their families, but additionally, working together to help them have an understanding of what they're entitled to and enrich the lives of our special education students and those students who have disabilities. So I hope to see everybody there. And then I'll circle back now. So following up on what I discussed last time, so my concerns mostly for students who struggle with reading and students, special education students, who I feel very strongly need a different program that is targeted towards them to meet their needs. Has the board or administration looked into implementing these kind of research-based programs?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm actually going to share this with our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, because I know she has taken on the research and exploration with a group of people that are looking into different reading methodologies that could help support our students to learn in different ways.
Great.
Hi, Mrs. Damiano, how
Hello.
are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. So, as you know, our program is research-based. We are very near and dear to research in the district. About 3 years ago, we decided to look at all of our data, our internal and our state assessment data. We had to make a lot of shifts, as did districts across the country, to really align our instruction to literacy and to really look at those big 6 pillars of literacy that the state has shared with us. And since that time, since 3 years ago, we're really closely aligned with all of that. All that we do is research-based, and all of our programming in the classes, as well as our reading interventions, are research-based. We've gone over those with you as well, and I just wanted to emphasize that right away. In addition, as we've discussed, we are bringing 2 additional programs to the district. We've spoken with the special education administrators, Dr. Hernandez, Ms. Alonso, and Ms. Farrell as well, and they're in agreement with special education programs we'd like to bring to the district. At this point, we will be discussing it with the teachers, and then we are hoping to have training during the summer for our teachers to be trained in the program so that they're ready to go in September to begin.
What are the names of the programs?
So I don't want to discuss that right now, but I can
Okay.
give you a call
Great.
tomorrow morning. Like I said, I
Wonderful.
want to let the teachers know first before we kind of open it up to everyone, but it's under very close consideration. We met with the 3 special education administrators, and we looked at several different programs, and these are the 2 that we feel really meet the needs of our students.
Excellent. That makes me very happy.
Yes, and one of those I know that we discussed earlier, so I think you
Right.
might know.
Because that is always my need and my concern, is that, and I complimented you last time on the work that
We
the
appreciate that
district
so
has
much.
done.
Yes.
However, I do feel that there are certain kids that need more targeted intervention that pertains to how they learn.
Yes, and that was
So-
definitely the next spot that we were drawing our attention to.
Right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, thank you.
So I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Thanks.
Of course.
Amazing. And then my other question is, so in concerns with reading, right, we want to make sure that we, meet the needs of these students early on. We don't want the gap to get wider, right? We
Yes.
want it to close.
Yes.
So we specifically want screeners or diagnostic assessments that we can use when it's like, oh, okay, this student is showing difficulty in reading, right? So do we have diagnostic assessments and screeners that we can administer? And at what age do we do that?
So we use our STAR Early Literacy. We use that across the board. Well, obviously with the
3 to
primary
5,
grades.
correct?
No, also
No?
K through 2.
Okay.
Our STAR Early Literacy K through 2.
Okay.
And then we use our early literacy assessments as well.
Okay,
And
okay.
those are the ones that we went through in more detail.
Right.
When we met
Okay.
to kind of outline
Yes,
those. Yes.
I remember. One consideration I do, recommendation I do have is maybe there are districts
Ms.
where.
Damiano, I'm sorry. We actually want to have a presentation on this, like in a public way, so.
I'm done
this
after
is-
this.
Yeah, okay, I just want to.
I just have one little recommendation going further.
You
Many
can- okay.
districts have staff that are trained to assess students who are showing difficulty, right? So they don't have to get an outside evaluation. Something that we can consider moving forward. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, then we're going to move on. Where are we now? Let's see. Instructional report. Dr. Doshner?
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 7 on the instructional report, A, Committee on Special Education, B, Committee on Preschool Special Education, and C, Suspension of Grading BOE instructional report.
Can I get a motion? Leah and Maureen?
Thank you.
All in favor? What? Oh, everybody? 7? Okay. That's 7. All right. Business affairs.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 8A, Finance, numbers 1 and 2.
Motion. Ann and Angela? Any questions? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 8B, Operations, numbers 1 through 9.
Okay, motion. Maureen and Leah. Any questions? All in favor? 7. Okay. Moving on. Personnel.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 9A Certified, numbers 1 through 5.
Motion. Ann and Megan? Any questions? No? All in favor? 7. Okay.
Based on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, I ask the Board of Education to approve Agenda Item 9B Classified, numbers 1 through 5.
Motion. Ann and Angela? Comments or questions? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now we are on unfinished business. I don't believe there is any. New business, we have 2 policies. Would somebody from the policy committee like to talk about those, or? Go ahead.
Sure. So we have 2 policies on for tonight. The first read for field trips, excursions, regulation. The updates and the proposed revisions for the policy, it's relevant to tonight's Board of Ed meeting. It's really to update the policy to now be aligned with the new international trips that just recently took place. The committee does want to share, it has received feedback regarding the proposed revisions in the first read, and we have now added this policy for discussion at the next scheduled meeting. to discuss the proposed revisions further. So that's on schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Now, for the policy regarding the proposed revisions to the naming facilities policy, the policy committee had a couple of revisions based on insights that were gathered recently from a subcommittee that many of our district facilities already have a dedication to them, so we still want to be able to have opportunities for staff who definitely fall in that category of, you know, it's important to recognize outstanding contributions of people associated with the Glen Cove City School District. So the revisions and the proposed revisions in the first reading really allow that goal to really still take place. So it also aims to ensure a more inclusive process that now allows eligible students to be part of that process. So that was another revision that you'll see in that first reading. And additionally, the revisions also serve to help clarify individuals who are eligible to be recognized by the district, community members, or organizations.
Okay. And this policy, just so you guys in the audience know, it's the last page of the draft agenda that you'd find outside on the table. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the policy at this point? Okay. Then we will put it up for a second reading at our next meeting. All right, let me get myself back in order here. Okay, so now we are at board comments. If anybody has anything they want to share. Leah?
Well, I just want to mention the Nightline that went home this past week that has budget information on it and highlights dozens and dozens of amazing things that our kids are doing at many levels, from pre-K all the way up through high school seniors. And I think the best part is the QR code that tells people where to vote. I know this comes up a lot on social media, that people aren't sure where to vote. So just check out the QR code and you can figure out if you're a Connolly voter or at the high school.
Thank you for sharing that. Hi, Megan, go ahead.
This morning, I was able to participate, at least partially, in a NYSBA policy workshop online, and it was about the 3 policies that you guys will be working on at the end of the month, in particular, the cell phone policies, the student member ex officio, and the excess heat policy. And it was, so one, I would suggest everybody, it will be recorded, it's online, to take a look at it, particularly going into that meeting, at least parts of it. It was just interesting because even though these policies are viewed, they're going to be, you know, state law and mandates, but it was interesting to have discussions and to look at them because there's still going to be lots of local control on them, how things, different regulations, how they're put into place, what happens if there's a violation of a certain policy, in particular with the cell phone. So it was an interesting discussion, and the student ex officio, come to find out, we were like in the minority of districts that already had one in place, and it was just interesting. So it was, a lot of it was how to put it into place, but was how to have that member become more involved and what else they can do. So it would be great, I think, also to speak to Isabel at the end of the year and get her input along with, you know, any suggestions that NYSBA had. But it was a really interesting workshop, and so everyone should take a look, read the materials. I think they're online.
Sharing that, Megan. Anybody else? All right. So then, this is our last public participation. If anybody has non-agenda items they want to comment on or ask questions about, you can approach Ida and sign in, please.
Janet Blatt, McGrady Street, Glen Cove. I had meant to do what I'm going to start doing tonight at one time, but I decided while I was listening to the woman talk about reading special ed kids that I wanted to thank the superintendent for what she did, which was to speak with the principal and speak with the teacher of the child that I've been advocating for since before he started kindergarten. Preschool for those kids was COVID time, so didn't have it. He had been struggling, and he is now finishing up his 3rd grade year that has been not just a superb school year and social year for him, but a time where his reading level has been raised 4 levels. 4 levels. Not from actually the first day of school, but for what the issue that was preventing him from doing as well as he's capable of doing became known to his older brother, who's a young adult, and through him to me, and from me to the superintendent. His math, he still gets extra help in reading in school, but 4 levels he's raised. That's superb, just superb. His math work, because of what the issue was and was discovered, and the superintendent, I guess, explaining that to the principal and the teacher, who took it and ran with it. His math is now his test scores are in the high 80s. The last test was 90. Not only are his parents thrilled with the year that he has had and the education he is getting, but he, as a 3rd grader, is thrilled. He is the happiest little boy. I can see him skip up the street to get to the bus and make sure he's there ahead of time. I see him when he comes home. He goes to the Boys and Girls Club afterwards. He plays on 2 traveling teams, soccer, 1 local and 1 in Freeport. But it wouldn't all have come together if he wasn't able to do what he's done in class. Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate it. The family of the child appreciates it. I never expect a whole lot. I've seen too much, I've heard too much. This is just superb. And if it's happening for him, what helped him is also helping other kids, because the focus was a little bit different when they looked at the problems that a kid was having in this particular class or in other classes, as the principal at the school explained. Just superb. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody
Janet,
else?
it really is a combined effort, and I want to thank the...
You say that, but the fact is it wouldn't have happened.
Here you go.
All right.
I just have a loud mouth.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't see anybody. Okay, so in that case, can I get a motion to adjourn? Anne and Angela. Okay, all in favor? I think that's 7. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.
She has permission from his parents to be his advocate.
Oh, I'm just glad you didn't say his name. I think you said Adam? I didn't hear Adam. That's why I was like, okay, she's not saying anything.